Hey everybody, Nina here. I'm going to take you through a Google Analytics walkthrough. I'm only going to do a walkthrough of things that I actually use because I think there's a lot of stuff on Google Analytics that's great. I just don't use all of it, honestly. You don't need all of it. Definitely some people who are more visual would really like to create dashboards with more graphs. If you want to do that, I recommend going to my friend Melissa Wright's site. It's Melisma Digital. I'll add a link to it, but yeah, it's a great site. And she goes through more stuff in detail. Like she's very techie. I'm not. And I'm just not a visual thinker. So to me, a graph with numbers is all I need. So yeah, this is my She Knows SEO site. This is my universal analytics. This is going to be a universal analytics walkthrough. I do not use G4 yet because I don't like it. When I did my Google certification for analytics, I did it in Universal Analytics. I'm hoping they update the thing soon so I can take it again and learn more about G4, but I'm not an expert on that. And to be honest, I don't like that it has less data, which I know is the point. But for now, I focus on this. And I really recommend if you don't have Universal Analytics on, have it on as well. I do have both running at all times on all my sites, so I just created one of each. One of them I set up through my rank math, and the other one I just add the code into my header script. It's pretty simple, to be honest. But then they're both collecting data, so I can turn one off when I need to or when Google turns it off. So yeah, this is the main dashboard. I don't spend a lot of time here, to be honest. So this is just kind of where I pop in and out. When you first arrive, this is what you'll see. So mine's a little bit bigger right now. Usually I don't see this one here. It's usually lower because I don't full screen anything ever unless I'm recording. So we start off with users, then sessions. And a question I get all the time is, what is a session? How is it different? What's a page view? What's happening? So essentially you start with a user. So person A, aka me, so Nina, I go to, let's just say Wikipedia. I go to Wikipedia and for one time. So that's me, that's just Nina, one user. And then when I'm on Wikipedia that one time, I go to 3 different pages. Maybe I look at an emperor of Rome, maybe I look at the Colosseum, maybe I look at penguins. I don't know, I like weird stuff. So that would be one user, one session, but it'd be 3 page views, which doesn't show here, but it would be 3 page views. But if I did that in the morning and then I come back in the evening, that's going to be a second session because there's time between it. Then if I look at 2 pages, that's going to be 2 page views. So a total of 5 page views, 2 sessions, 1 person, 1 user. It's basically how it works. Bounce rate is when somebody comes to a page on your site, and this is the percent of people who immediately leave your site after that page. This site actually is pretty low compared to travel. In travel, it's very common to have 80 to 85%. I've had mine up to 92 once when I was really doing affiliates quite hard because I wanted a high bounce rate. I wanted people to click to the affiliates and buy stuff, so I didn't much mind if it was high. If your bounce rate is crazy high, if it is over 90, I would start looking at your posts to be sure where are they going. If they're all exiting off of affiliate posts, and I'll show you how to find that, then you can know that they're probably going to purchase something from the affiliate. But if they're exiting off of an informational post, you're going to want to try and figure out what are they clicking on. Are they clicking on something you've provided, or do they not like it and they're leaving? And bounce rate is really bad, especially if they're coming from Google. They click to your site, they don't get their answer, they go back, pick another one in the top 10. That tells Google that you did not fully answer their question. Once in a while, this happens for sure. I know for myself, I have anxiety and I feel like I'm missing out if I don't read everything on the first page of Google. I am that 1% of user who will often go to page 3 looking for stuff all the way through. Most people don't do that. So we're looking at the average common denominator here. Session duration is how long they spent on your site in that session. So even if I spent 1 minute on page 1 on Wikipedia, 2 minutes on page 2, and 3 minutes on page 3, my session duration would be 6 minutes. And I think this is important to note because people are very speedy on our sites. And what I see a lot of people get stuck in is, oh, I can't do this. It needs to be perfect. It needs to, be like diamond amazing and sparkling and everything. Doesn't really. We want it to be amazing for SEO. But if there's a spelling error in one spot, if the picture's a bit grainy, no one cares, because honestly, most of your users are coming for a minute and a half or so. They're not coming to spend 20 years on your site. Most people will not read your whole site and read every word. I got asked this recently about sales pages that I've been putting up and sales pages that I've been writing, because I have also a writer to help me with them. Apologies, my dog is barking at the neighbor dog. And they were like, okay, why are your sales pages so long? Who's going to read all of that? And I was like, it's not the point that someone reads the whole thing. It's that I'm targeting different people with different styles. There are some people who purchase based on logic, some people who purchase based on emotion, some people who purchase based on like user reviews of other people have done it. Some people, like, I don't know, for me, I don't know why, but I always go to the FAQ first and read all the FAQs, and then I go read other bits of it. Some people need images, some people need other stuff. And the point of a sales page is to cater to all of those people. And that's kind of what we're doing with a post, where like there are people who need different information and who will process it differently. So many times people will come to your site to like a things to do in Rome post, it's 15 things, and they're just going to read the headers to see if there's any that they care about. Then they'll skim read the one that they do, and maybe they'll click on the tour. Maybe they'll go check out a second one that you talk about a little bit more. 98% of people are not even going to scroll all the way to the bottom of your page. And the ones that do probably still aren't reading it with their full attention. So just don't worry so much about everything being perfect. It never will be. I can tell you there are things I published last January I was super proud of. I go back now and I'm like, oh my God, what is that? You continue to learn and grow, and especially with things like writing, we're always changing our style. When I wrote my first novel when I was like 11, I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible. But it was something I really cared about at the time. And at the time, that was as good as I was. And I'm a lot better of a writer now. So here we have, and I will say that, I don't say that to say that like I got published at 11. It was so bad, it's like I should have burned that immediately. It was a really, really bad book. It was basically just Twilight fan fiction before I knew what fan fiction was. So here you'll get a little graph, and if you click through different things, it will change the graph to represent what's up here. I don't really do this because, again, I'm not very visual. Down here, you can adjust the date periods if you want. This isn't where I go to look at most of my traffic. I'll show you guys that in a moment. This is cool. It's active users, so you can see how many people were on your site in the last 5 minutes. And when they're here, it'll show you which page of your site they're on. It's kind of funny to like be on it and then watch as it changes as people click around. If you hover over it, you can see like page views from a little bit ago. And yeah, I think this is a really interesting feature. This is just a report from my Thrive cart. I don't really know what it's linking to, but yeah, you can find more information there. It does tell you like that it's referring to your site from this other thing. So it's like, where are the referrals coming from? And you can see if from that referral, it has a higher or lower bounce rate or higher or lower duration time. Down here, we have like your traffic channel. So that's like where people came from: email, direct, organic search, social, other. I don't look at this a ton. Source or medium, same kind of thing. Direct basically just means they typed it into their search bar, or like typed in your URL at the top and then went to it. And then referrals is like the specific link that they came from. Over here, you have your country, or your users by country. It's very important if you want to get into Mediavine that the United States is number one. It does not need to be over 50% of your traffic. I think that's a common misconception. People think you need to have, like, they say majority US traffic, and since majority usually means over 50%, they kind of assume it has to be that. But no, it's just, it has to be the most. When I got into Mediavine on my travel site, it was about 34% US, 32% Canadian. Like, that's how close it was, and I got in no problems. So just be sure that US is your highest if that's what you're going for. But if you're going for something like AdThrive or Monumetric, it needs to be one of these four, or that these four are your top: the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. basically Western English speaking countries that will spend more money on similar ads to the US, essentially. Then you have users by time of day. I don't think this is massively helpful for us, to be honest, because time of day when you publish doesn't really matter, especially if you're going for Google traffic, because if you publish at the peak time of day, they probably still won't see it for like months until it ranks. But what I do think is interesting is the low traffic days, because this tells you days that not many people are on your site. So if you have to do major work on your site, like if you have to take it down for a minute, if you're doing like a massive theme change and you're not doing a staging area for some reason, but you really should do a staging area, these would be the days to do it, to have things break. You do not want to have things break at your peak time. One sec, my dog just brought a stick onto the couch. Sorry, my dog feels he's the main character of everything. So yeah, down here you'll have your top pages and the page views for the last 7 days. You can adjust this to different levels. With most sites, your homepage probably won't be up here. This site's a bit different because I've been on a bunch of podcasts and summits and stuff recently, so people just search my my homepage a lot more now, which is cool. I mean, it's interesting to see it up there. Usually my homepage on my travel sites are kind of second tier. Over here we have active user trends. I don't really pay attention to that one. Sessions by device is interesting. Most travel sites are going to be mobile first and tablet. Desktop will be a lot lower. But for something like my site handles marketing and business, so people tend to be looking at it while they work. So desktop is higher. I believe on my travel site I'm like 60 or 70% mobile. It's a lot higher. Down here we have how well you retain users, like how long they stay on the site, if they move on to other things. Goals is not something I really use. I set this up to show you guys, but I don't actually really use them because I have other tools that help me with this. And these are your ad campaigns. I don't have any running because this is my, like, you know when you like have AdWords and you need to have a dummy account? This is the dummy account I use for that, and that's it. So you can make customized reports and dashboards. This is where like Melissa shines and I do not. So go check her stuff out. Oh, that was a really Canadian out, wasn't it? Real time is going to be more expansion on this, like this section over here, the blue. So if you go there, you'll get more about like who's on your site right now, what location are they from, where did they come from, what content have they consumed, how have they moved through your site, basically, and any events that they've done. I don't really do stuff there. I mostly go to audience and I go to overview. And this is where I spend most of my time. So this is going to be users automatically. You can switch it to sessions or page views, and it just kind of like shifts the numbers a bit, but the trends should be the same. Then I come over here, and this is where you can set your date ranges. So if you want to do it to like the last 30 days or something, if you want to do like the last 3 months, you would do custom, and then you can just click on however long you want it to be. Even if you're on the last 30 days, if you start clicking around, it'll automatically become custom. Yeah, and so let's just do last 30 days. This is where you go to find that 30-day data that you would send to Mediavine, or that people always say like, oh, my traffic this month was X. This is where you're finding it. If the month is more than 30 days, like January, you would just click, click to cover the whole month, and then it's custom, but that's fine. It's not something that's like super important, or you just do last month. But sometimes last month can miss a day. I've found that sometimes. They're getting better at it, but I've had issues before. But yeah, I just do last 30 days most of the time anyway. And then I'll just show you a quick feature here that's interesting. So what people often do when they do content audits to see how is their traffic going, they look at the last 3 months. That's what I do. That way it's like certain months things will do better than others. Things shift a little bit. And so I will see like, okay, in the last 3 months, how much traffic has this post got or whatever. But what you also want to see is, have you lost any traffic? Has anything changed? And if the post isn't seasonal, then there might be something you need to change. So for example, if like right now it's Canada and winter, if like my posts about hiking in summer are not doing great right now, but if it was July and those posts weren't doing great, then I would want to know what's happening. So if you come here and you click this little checkbox, you can compare it to the previous period, and it will be the exact same duration of time that you had up here. So if I switch this to last 7 days, you can see it automatically switches the compare section as well. So if you have 30 days set for this, it's going to automatically shift that to be the 30 days behind it. That's basically how it works. So I'll just do 30 days so you guys can see what it looks like. Give it a moment. Loom really slows stuff down. Wow, Loom really slows stuff down on Google Analytics. Sometimes these reports do take a minute to run. While it's doing that, I'll just talk about the grade stuff. Oh no, perfect, yes. Every time I start talking about something else, it jumps and it gets ready. So here I can see in the orange what the sessions were the last month and when it peaked, when it kind of levels off. And then this month I can see when things change as well. And you can switch this to be like users, page views, whatever you prefer to look at. Again, it's basically going to track pretty much the same way. But this helps me see what happens. And then I can compare, was there a drop in the number of users and number of traffic and things, or amount of traffic and things like that? Did my duration change? Is my bounce rate higher or lower? Whatever I feel. You can also then check out like new versus returning visitors and things like that, and all the information down here that I don't really pay attention to. So I'm going to turn this compare off. So usually it'll look like this. And down here, you'll get your users for that period, whatever it is. We have it set to 30 days. New users are users who have not been here before. And so it's very, very common for this to be really high for a number of reasons. Number one, it doesn't track people who are, like if someone came to your site before and then it sees them as a new user, it could be because they are using Safari or something that has already blocked cookies. It could also be because they're using an incognito window. There's so many reasons, but to be honest, I don't worry about like the retention between this, because equally people coming from Google searches typically are new users, and that's fine. Then we have sessions over here. So I already explained the difference between users, sessions, and page views. So you can see that it does get higher each time. Now, the jump between my sessions and page views is a bit unusual. It's a little bit higher than most people, and that's partially because of some funnels and tripwires and stuff I have on this site. It's also because people learning about SEO tend to be like ready to learn a bunch of stuff and like want to sit down and just keep reading. Whereas on a travel site, what often happens is people come in, they learn about how to rent their car, and then they leave. And that's totally okay. So on my travel site, my pages per session are lower. I believe they're like 1.6 or 7. And here we have number of sessions per user. On my travel site, it's a bit lower as well. The only time you would have these be like massively higher is, or not the only time. There's instances where it happens, but I would look into it if it's happening to see why. I remember when I used to do those like Facebook group swaps that are like so dumb. I hate that I did them. Where it's like, you Google my site or like my keyword, then like scroll to find my site. I'll Google your keyword and then scroll to find your site. And we'll pretend that that's SEO, which it isn't. That's not how it works. And I don't actually believe that helps rankings at all, even though people try to claim it does. So with that, you had to click to like 4 pages on someone's site. So my sessions per user were like nearly 4, because that's where I was getting all of my traffic. Like I was nearly at 30,000 I think it was over 30,000 page views actually. And my sessions were that high because it was all synthetic. It was so horrible. And like, I made no money, because why would I make money off that? Average session duration is how long they're spending on your site. I think I mentioned that on the dashboard area. And I mentioned bounce rate as well. Then we have this little graph of like new versus returning visitors. Down here we have the prominent languages people are in when they come to your site, which countries, which cities. I think they're going to do away with cities for sure. I don't know if they'll do away with country and language as well. They likely will, or it'll get significantly reduced on G4. Then we have which browser they're working in. So if your site like doesn't work on a browser and people are coming to you from Safari, but like your theme breaks on Safari, you're gonna want to change your theme. Otherwise, I don't look at this. Operating system, same thing, I don't really look at it. And service provider, no one really shares that. So then you have the same thing for mobile down here to see like, okay, does yours work on iOS or Android? If it doesn't, then you're gonna want to change it. cannot believe anyone still has a BlackBerry nowadays. That's crazy. So active users just shows a graph of that stuff. Basically, all of this is just like information I don't really pay attention to. Yeah, I don't do any of this. So demographics is the next area I would go to. And this is where, especially if you're doing like media kits because you want to do sponsored posts and stuff, this is where you find out your demographics of your general age range of your users and the gender breakdown. It is unfortunately not very inclusive, where it doesn't factor in anything but the heteronormative female and male, but we gotta do what we gotta do. It's here, so that's what we have to work with. And this is only going to be a representation of a percent of your users. So you can see it's only 22.33% of total users and 23.67% of total users. This is why I'm not super panicked about G4. Like, we don't get everyone's data already anyway, especially because like a lot of software like Safari have already stopped using cookies a long time ago. Yeah, but that's a rant for another day. So this is where I'd pull that information. If you hover over them, they'll give you the exact percentages and breakdowns. And if you click into it, it just gives you like the table version of it instead of the graph. Interest is a cool area. I almost said interest is interesting, which was going to be weird. This is where you learn about what your audience likes besides your site. So basically, when someone comes to your site, what happens right now is there's like a little cookie that sits on their shoulder and then moves around the internet with them. And that cookie like reports back to us kind of what else they did. It doesn't tell me, oh, they went to Ben & Jerry's and bought 40 pints of ice cream. It doesn't tell me that like, oh, they went and like impulse shopped a dog. It doesn't tell me any of that. It just tells me, okay, that person then went on to like Sephora. Well, we know they like beauty, so they'll get a tick for the beauty column. And this is all I see. This is why like I don't get why people are so terrified of privacy stuff, because I'm like, this is what helps us serve them ads that are related to them. I'd much rather get an ad about like a beach in the Caribbean than I would about strollers for a kid. I don't have a kid, so like I don't need those. And I would rather get ads for something that's vaguely useful to me, or at least like relevant to my life, I guess, like even if I'm not clicking on them and buying stuff. And I'd much rather them to like boner pills or something. So here we can see like a bit about our audience and what they're interested in besides us. And these are kind of cool things that you can add to your media kit as well. I don't do sponsored posts anymore or like press trips and stuff, but when I used to, this was something I paid more attention to. Because you can then tell people like, oh, I want to pitch to a gift basket company or something. So I can tell them, well, 2.3% of my users are 100% interested in gifts, and other people are interested in like maybe shopping and value shoppers, and gift baskets are a value or something. You can find ways to pitch it. Geography is going to have your language and location breakdowns again. Behavior will show you the new versus returning people. And then how often they come to your site, when they came to your site, and how engaged they are, which is like how long their session behavior was. Technology is that breakdown of like software and network. Pretty much same with mobile. Cross-device is cool because it's like who kind of move between devices on your site. So it's like if someone starts on their phone on like their iPhone and then it comes up along the bottom of their laptop and they move to their laptop. It's an interesting one. Custom is where you can define custom variables. Don't have any defined. I've never really bothered with it. And I don't think I have any user-defined variables either, but we shall check whenever it decides to load. How are you doing? How's your day? Let's just have a chat while we wait. Yeah, no, users have not set any. Benchmarking, yeah, it basically just compares like this month to last month, so it's kind of what we did at the top. Or it might not be last month, actually. I think it's an average. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's, it's an industry average. That's what it is. Apologies. It's been a while since I used this one. User flow is super cool. I think this one's really interesting and most people don't come here. So you can see by location how they come to your site and then how they move through your site and the percentage of people who make it to the end. And this is really interesting to see, like, especially where people are dropping off. So for me, a lot of people drop off on this new free SEO course I just launched. And that's because it's like I'm hosting it on a page on my site. They go, they watch all the stuff, and then they can just leave. I don't really give them something else to do to interact on my site. And that's probably something I should consider adding at the bottom to improve this. But equally, if I saw everyone's leaving on my things to do in Rome post, I would probably check with my heat map. I use Affiliate for that, but there are free heat maps you can add. Just delete them after, like they're plugins. Delete the plugin after because they are so slow. But this will show you like how often people, or where people are clicking and how often they're clicking. So I could see, are they leaving to leave my site, or are they leaving to buy something? And then if they're leaving to buy something, I don't mind. I'm getting their money. So I've done my job well. I've sold something. Acquisition is another space I spend a fair amount of time, or not a fair amount of time, but I come here and I look at stuff. Here I can see where people are coming from. So direct means that like they had the URL to my site and they put it into their search bar and they went to it. Social came from social media, organic search, SEO from Google. It does also include like Bing and stuff, but mostly Google. Email for email marketing and like newsletters and stuff. It's really cool that it can like read the UTM so easily to track that, no matter like who your email provider is. And then referral tends to be that they click to it from some other site. And for me, I'm pretty sure my referral data includes my YouTube. Does it? No, I think YouTube social media. That's my bad. But yeah, some stuff that I've done recently. Tree maps, I don't use this. I don't really care about it. Source/medium is going to tell you more about like where people came from specifically. And then referrals are going to show you the actual like domain name of the place. I don't use Google Ads, so I don't have anything there. Search Console, I just go to Search Console. I literally don't even have it connected. If you want to connect it, you have to go through like the setup of data sharing. I don't know that it's useful to you when you can just log into the other one. And I don't think it shows the same amount of stuff. Here you can find like your landing pages and referrals from different social channels. So for me, my YouTube has been doing pretty well with this in my Facebook group. You can see them here. Campaigns, again, are going to be paid for social. Now behavior, I go to overview. So overview doesn't look that interesting, right? So people often come to behavior and go, oh, I don't want to spend time here. I don't need to, I'll leave. But there's two really cool things here. First, there's behavior flow, which is basically like that other flow I showed you, but it's like, it gives you more details. It's not country specific. And so it'll show you like the landing page they come to first, and then exactly how they move through your site, which is so cool. And so you can like adjust the settings here too if you want to like not do landing page, if you want to see like categories or like a campaign or where they came from something else. I just go by landing page. So I can see like the main landing pages on my site, where they move to second, and then as they like move through my site, and I can see where they leave. Where are they getting to that then they're like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm okay. It does not include every single page like fully listed, to be honest. You can ask for more details. Like here it says show fewer connections, show more connections, and you can export things. You can also have it like not group pages if you don't want it to. I just look at it here basically. But another place that you spend time is going to be site content, all pages. So all pages is going to show you the traffic every page on your site gets. And this is where you're going to do content audits to see, okay, how much traffic is this post getting? Now, traffic will vary month by month for sure. It's always going to, but it's especially going to vary for posts that are not evergreen. So those are those seasonal posts like I mentioned before, and that's why I do like the 3-month window. And so if you want to export this data for a content audit, you are going to come up here to hit export Google Sheets. But before you do that, you have to come down here and change the rows. So each row is going to be one URL on your site. So I don't know why it doesn't do like, it just jumps really fast to like 100 to 250 to 500. So on this site, I have under 100 posts. I'm going to hit 100. I think I have under 50, but I'm not 100% sure right now. but you'd pick whatever like the number is just above whatever number of posts you have. And then you can see it brings up everything. However, it's also going to bring up these like UTM posts that have a unique tracking marker from some area. So there's Facebook ones. You'll get like the category page of different pages of your site. You will get like searches on your site. The $S equals is when someone has used the search function on your site trying to find something. I'm trying to find another one. A preview is going to be, I think that's when I previewed it or something. I don't know. I thought I had myself logged out for that, but whatever. So that's where you're going to get some that are irrelevant. And so what you're going to do then is when you're doing your content audit and you've exported this, you can just delete those rows because it's fine. Usually they're so minimal that like the traffic is pretty small. So if you added 4 to whatever numbers were above, it wouldn't really matter to your purposes, I guess. And this goes by page views. You can change it to sessions if you want or something else. I just do page views all the time. It's kind of the basis of what most of us do. You can also save anything you do on Google Analytics if you want to like save the report. I don't do this because I just export them and put them in my Google Sheets and then play with them there. So it is also interesting to do landing pages to see where people arrive on your site because this is going to show you all the traffic, even if they came to it later. Landing pages is just however many people start on which page. So it is going to have different numbers. The same is going to be true of exit pages. So exit pages is something I check to see, okay, where are people leaving? Why might they be leaving? For me, a lot of these, to be honest, redirect to my Thrive cart. So they'll come to this page and then dip to Thrive cart basically and not actually hang out on the page. But like I said, this one, when they come to this free SEO course, I don't have anything to keep them there. So maybe I need to add something. And that could be true of other posts on my site as well. So I would go through this to see how many people are leaving on that page. At a certain point, people have to leave your site on some page, so it's not terrible. But if it's like the first one is 2,000 more than the others, there's something that might be happening. Site speed I do in PageSpeed Insights. If I have to, I usually use webpagetest.org instead. Site search is like who searched stuff on your site with that like equals $S. Because I use the site search from Cadence, it doesn't pick it up for some reason. Events are what's being tracked in G4 and they are something I don't like, so we're going to skip it. Publisher, I don't remember what this is. Oh yeah, it's deals with your ads, not worth it. We're going to skip experiments because again, I don't use it. The next thing you want is conversions and goals. So we're going to skip e-commerce because we aren't e-commerce sites. But goals are where you want to basically track one thing that's happening on your site. So for example, your goal could be driving traffic to a certain page, like you want it to get a bunch of people to it. It could be a purchase, it could be whatever you want it to be. So I set up one for us. The problem is these are an amalgamation of every single one. I just want the single one that I did. Here we go. This is the one I created. That's my Jasper course because it was the only URL I could remember off the top of my head. So here, the goal that I've created is just traffic for people to come here. And the way that you set this up is in admin. Over here, under your all website data on the view area, goals. Come to goals, you'll create a new goal. I don't know, I just use template. I don't really know what it means, but I always go with it. Give it a name. It's going to automatically add another goal ID. If you want to do a different goal set, so for example, if you wanted to have like goal set 1 is all about purchases, goal set 2 is all about time on page. I don't know. So purchases don't fully work here. They're kind of an event that has to happen where it's like the person does something. Destination is they arrived on a certain page. So one of the ways that most people use this to judge purchases is when someone purchases, it sends them to a thank you page, to a unique one for each item. I don't do this because my Thrive cart does it for me, so I don't have to worry about this. But if you're hosting stuff on a subdomain for WooCommerce or something, this might be an option. Then you have duration. So basically this will only track people who are on your site for over 5 minutes or something. Pages or screens per session. Again, people who interact with more pages, it will only track them. I'm just going to once you get to goal details, of course it's not letting me. I'm just gonna add some random nonsense. You get to goal details. This is where you turn on whatever the goal is. So you would have it equal. So it can be whatever, like basically equals is more like contains. So it would have some part of a URL. So for me, it's this Jasper course one because it was sheknowsseo.co/Jasper. It's all I could think of. If it's an app that you have integrated with your GA, you would just put the name of the app. Value is if, again, like you're basically using this to track a purchase. I would just do it in Thrivecart. It's a lot easier. I have a Thrivecart walkthrough. If you're also using something like Gumroad that's off your site, it will still track that. It's just WooCommerce that I don't think does a massively good job at it because the impressions are kind of weird. And then funnel if you want to like track the specific path they take to get here. For example, if you're like, okay, here's a post, at the bottom of it, I'm going to link to the Jasper course and I want to know if this specific post is converting, you'd create that funnel. And like, you just have to then add each, like, what's the word? Jesus, a slug. Add the slug, which is this, for each one. And then do they have to have attended to that page before they moved on for them to count in this tracking? If not, whatever. That's basically that. So I want to discard that one because it was nonsense. So I literally turned this on like a minute ago to try and run this. And yeah, so it's not got any information yet, but it's recording it. So it will track conversions of people arriving at this page. I don't think that's super helpful. I think it's better if it's like more about something. Yeah, I don't really use most of this stuff, to be honest. You just don't need a lot of it, in my opinion. Like, it's just going to take time away from you creating content. One thing that you might need is over here in tracking info. Click tracking code. And then this is where you get your Google tag, but it's also where you get your, you can check if your link is working. So if your traffic has fallen off a cliff one day and you're like, what happened? But your site doesn't get constant traffic. Like my travel site basically always has like 13 to 20 people on it, even like middle of the night for some reason. But this one doesn't, and that's fine. I've been neglecting this site. I need to put more stuff on it. One way to check if it's working is to hit send test traffic. And it will open a version of your site in a new tab. Sometimes it is a pop-up window, it just depends. And then this UTM here is telling it that it's test traffic. And sometimes it takes a second. If I clicked right back over, it might still have said 0 for a moment. But you'll see now it says 1 active user. And it says including 1 from test traffic. So this way I know my tag is working because I just tested it. So then you know, okay, if my traffic fell off a cliff, but my code is working, what else is happening? What has happened here? A cool thing that I think is interesting, but you really shouldn't play with, but I think it's a cool thing. If you go to session settings, you can actually change the duration of your sessions, which I will say every ad network who would like come to your site, especially the ones who have traffic minimums, I'm like 99% sure that they would check this to make sure you haven't adjusted this. I've seen that it's always like 20 to 30 minutes. So I think 30 minutes is kind of their new standard. It was 20 about a year ago when I first found this. But yeah, this is basically how long your site registers a session as being. And I think it's kind of cool. So it's like, even if like I went to Wikipedia and read 3 articles, if I took too long to read that last one, I would register as 2 people, which is just kind of a cool thing. You can add other search engines that you want for organic search. I don't do that. Referral exclusion list is like if someone, like if a domain sends you traffic, do you want to exclude it from the tracking? So usually your own name will be here because it's like, it's not a referral, it's your own site. I guess same for search terms. I've never used that. And yeah, that's basically all I do here. Yeah, I hope that was helpful. I'm not going to walk through like adding people or anything or setting it up. There's tons of resources on that out there, and I think they probably do a better job of all the details of that than I do because I Google it every time I have to redo it. Okay, have a good day.